Ecco, yes.
Well, I'm very moved by everything I've heard this evening, and I'm moved by the fact that you are remembering Jo, but that all of you are reflecting so profoundly on what her assassination means for for us all. And I'm also moved by, as I always remember, your attention to what goes on in Britain when so much of Britain pays no attention to what happens outside of Britain. So I'm very interested to hear the reflections of this evening. What I would say, having continued to defend public service broadcasting, as Jo always did, that there is a real problem with how social media operates that we have to find a way to get to grips with, because she was the victim of a far-right ideology that was spread very quickly by social media in a way that, were it to be through newspapers, the traditional media would never have been allowed. So we have allowed extreme, violent ideas to be expressed online for the incitement of violence online. So that which we did not tolerate offline, we have tolerated online. And in some cases, I think progressive people have wanted to defend freedom of expression, but I think we now need to look very closely at how this can continue to happen. She was a victim of what happened, I think, in part on social media. I have no way of managing that. Trump came to power, in the words of the former head of advertising for Facebook, as a result of his manipulation of social media. In the last week of the referendum campaign, 15 million people were targeted directly by social media with absolute lies about the Turkish population wanting to come and being allowed to come and live in Britain. Absolute falsehoods. It was that actually won the referendum. It was that kind of manipulation and targeting that won for Trump. And it was the ability to spread a story and create something seemingly grassroots in very, very little time that is quite chilling. And we should remember, I mentioned the BBC. We have just discovered, because someone has studied this, in 48 hours, one man in his bedroom was able to create a campaign called Defund the BBC, something Jo would have been horrified by. Within 2 days, they had created a campaign of 250,000 followers. It was then picked up by right-wing major newspapers like the Daily Mail, the Daily Express, and was being talked about as if this was a movement to end the BBC. Well, this is a nonsense, but listening to you all, I think it's something we have to pay attention to and think about. And Jo was a victim of an ideology that was spread very, very quickly online with ideas that would not have been published, really, I think, elsewhere. So I just would like us to recall that. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Carole. Do we have the video?
I was honoured to know Jo Cox, albeit briefly, when she worked in Brussels. She was a lovely, lovely woman, full of life, integrity, passion, humanity, internationalism. She always spoke from her head and her heart, very bravely, always trying to bring people together, to unite people, never to divide them. And as we all know, this message of bringing people together is so important at this time where Britain and America and other places are ruled by populist nationalists. And sadly, a vicious right-wing ideology has spread across the internet quite effectively and inciting violence against people like Jo, and she bore the ultimate price for never flinching from that message of humanity and unity among peoples. And of course, today, Jo's message is of enduring importance as we see those demonstrations across the world appealing for all of us to come together to recognise that Black lives matter. I'm convinced, albeit wearing a mask, that Jo would be demonstrating alongside others on those demonstrations, helping to bring people together to understand that we all benefit from a world of more equality and understanding and mutual tolerance. She is so sadly, her voice is so sadly missed, and she is missed, of course, as a lovely, lovely woman. And I'd love to say thank you to those of you in Italy who have invited me today to really honour Jo and for her message to live on. Thank you.